Hello, this is Crypto CJ's Trade of the Day. Welcome to the Friday afternoon Zoom edition. We've had some little turmoil in the markets this week. On Monday, we talked about the big crash we had last weekend. That was pretty awful. It's the worst one we had since last year in March. The crypto came back to some degree and then fell again. We've got Bitcoin below 50K and Ethereum trying to get back to 4,000. So let's see what we can do to get back. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we will look at Bitcoin to start. Okay. And you folks should be seeing my Bitcoin 4-hour chart. Can I get a oh yeah, amen, or something like that? Unless I'm not showing it to you.
We see it.
All right, thank you.
It's good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Amen.
Got them all. Awesome. So, all right, 4-hour chart, the big plunge. We had some nice recovery action. We hit 50K again, even up to almost 52. And then we had a big drop and spike up in the wee hours, but couldn't hold. And we're down to 47.5 right now. So there was some turmoil in the stock market regarding the Fed's release of inflation data. It wasn't quite as bad as they thought it was going to be. So today's been mostly kind of choppy. I'm very curious to see what happens this weekend. I don't know how accurate my trend lines are going to be. This one's not that significant anyway, but I do want to see if we get back to 50K. There was some talk yesterday on the CryptNation Lifer call that you could see another drop down to say 42 and between 42 and 40 before we get a big pump. But we keep saying that, back here we were saying, well, we'll get a pump down to, or drop down to 45 or so, and then it'll pump. And then it just ends up hanging around here. So it's really difficult at this point to see where crypto is going to go. There's, some institutions taking profits and other traders as well doing that. Seems to me you'd want to do that in January, but for tax purposes. But anyway, so that's where we are on Bitcoin, hanging around 47.5, looking for a pump back over 50, and then hopefully up to 60 and beyond. On Ethereum, I was trading this today, and it was just kind of hovering around 4K. Again, my trend line's just descending a little bit. Currently at 39.59, and can't quite hold 4K. So similar to Bitcoin and 50K right now. We'll see what the weekend holds. We've got overall lower volume in December, which is pretty common this time of year due to the holidays, plus the weekend coming up with even lower volume there. I don't know. I think we might be trending down this weekend, but don't hold me to that. Not financial advice. So I'm in a couple shorts, and then what I thought were low buy orders on a couple longs, but those went down even more. So that's a bit of a bummer. But I have used Altcoin Alert to find some profitable trades this week. We'll talk about those shortly. Before we do that, any questions or anybody want to talk about the market in general?
CJ, your Ethereum short probably worked out pretty good last weekend.
Yeah. What he's talking about is it's a kind of a running joke for me, is whenever I buy a short position on Ethereum or Bitcoin, the market takes off. So sometimes I do it with no analysis whatsoever, just to, and I even put on my spreadsheet, stop the bleeding. And I'll put in a little short, and it usually works for a while, maybe a day or day and a half, and then the inevitable dump comes, and I actually make money on it. So I've probably done it 10, 12 times, and 10 times made pretty good money on it. But anyway, it's more of a joke than anything. And now I'm trying something different. I have an XTZ short, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But and I do trade on leverage quite a bit. Some of the people on this group do as well. But for those of you who are new to trading, maybe new to my channel, we talk about spot trading primarily and how to use Altcoin Alert and to spot trade, get 2, 3, 4, maybe 5% per trade, build up your balance, piling up those trades. And then we do some ladder buying techniques if the trade goes against us. And that's about all I have. Anything on the overall market before we go to Altcoin Alert?
Well, I'm just going to add to the theory that institutions are selling off and taking profit, which you thought was odd, but they could be doing the reverse. They might have actually bought around 60 thinking that was the bottom, and now they are taking their losses and buying back in, for next year.
Okay, yeah, that would make some sense too. You buy when it's down here in the 40s. Plus you can on any losses, there's some tax write-offs there. So
supposedly word is that it's going to be down till the 25th.
Yeah, that's as valid as any other interpretation. I don't know if we're going to drop or go sideways, or the pump up to 100,000 by the end of the year seems kind of crazy at this point. But
Yeah.
if we just got back to 60 by the end of the year, I'd be happy. I don't do a lot of hodling, but I do have Bitcoin and Ethereum, so those have taken a bit of a not doing so well at the moment, but they'll come back. But this is not a show about hodling. We are day traders, so let's go to Altcoin Alert and see what we can do to make some day trades. So the hottest, hippest happening thing on Altcoin Alert, as you guys know from the last couple of weeks, is Josh Frank's teaching about using the long-term sentiment to find actionable trades. And he had done some data analysis that if you bought, I think the top 10 or 20, I can't recall, coins in this long-term sentiment sort. Was it 20?
Yes.
All right. If you buy the top 20 and hold them for a day, the profits were ridiculous, over 1,000%. So I don't have any intention of buying 20 coins, but I'll buy 1 or 2 based on this. And then he threw a little, actually, I think it was Bryce on the Tuesday call, talked about he wants more than just the long-term sentiment very bullish. He wants some correlation with the other, the other columns and indicators as well. So I was just doing the long-term sentiment. I see very bullish on a coin I like, and I would do a little bit of analysis on it, and I was in, and I've got 10 or 12 trades, and probably 8 or 9 did really well fairly quickly. I had to ladder buy a couple of them, but very pleased with the strategy. Yesterday I had a long and a short using this, and did well on both, about 2.5%. And so that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for as day traders. If you want double digits, 10, 15, 20%, 5x, 10x, you got to hodl for a while to do that. And we're trying to make some income off this, so just keep piling up those small profits. All right, so at the moment, we've only got one very bullish, this SNT, which I've never even heard of. I did trade one yesterday just off bullish, and it had, I think it was neutral, and it had a couple other more positive scores. And now I'm not remembering what that was, but let's see, I believe it was Mana. Yeah, I traded Mana and KSM. Mana on a short, KSM on a long. So both of those did pretty well. And then today I got into XTZ on a short, and I'll show you that. Yeah, so I did this long-term sentiment sort on the long side, click it a couple times, and oops, went one click too many. Yeah, it was actually very bearish when I bought it this morning. And so, it had a big run up recently, yesterday or the day before, like 30% in one day. So I thought it was due for a comeback just based on that knowledge. And, even though it had bullish on the AA score, that sometimes goes into 48 or 72 hours. If I can get this to drop a little bit, 1 or 2% today, then I'm content with that. So that's one way to use long-term sentiment score.
CJ,
Yeah.
are you using the
Time of day? It seemed to me that Josh said there was like a time.
John, I got half of that. You and your
Okay, how about now?
audio problems. That's better.
it turns itself down?
And we lost you again.
Oh, okay. I'm asking you, was there certain time of day for Josh?
Yeah, this isn't working, John. How about type me something in the chat and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything else in this sort. So let's go to the AA scores and see if we can find something in there to trade. All right, we've got two very bullish. Rune, I like. I trade this with some frequency. Loop Ring, I've traded a couple times before. They're both down like 5 or 6%. Both very bullish, but low 80s. I like to see mid 80s or 90s in this on this score. And it's just been beaten down. It's got thumbs down, poop, bearish, But again, our AA score is trying to predict the future. We're looking for 3% or higher profit in the next 48 to 72 hours. So I don't expect correlation between the AA score and these other columns. So this does not surprise me. A lot of people get tripped up by that. I believe the AA score is mostly exclusive from the other columns you see here on Altcoin Alert. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and check out Rune, see if we can set up a trade. All right, we will do we look at the day first, then the hour, then the 5-minute. We enter on the 5-minute charts. On the day chart, we want to get the big picture. Rune had a big move back in May. It dropped with the May dump. I recovered most of it, but not quite in November. It's had a pretty big drop since then. So, I kind of agree with AA. It's due for a comeback, at least theoretically. Let's see how much it dropped. So in the last 5 weeks, it's down 60%. On the hour, now we're going to start to look for a retracement, a range, a trading range. It's trending down on the hour, mostly just going sideways. On the hour, we've got some support at 6.7. Multiple touches at that level, so we'll keep that in mind. On the 5-minute chart, here's a halfway decent dip sequence right here. Had we been on the Zoom this morning, and most of you guys know or have seen my videos and iCoin Pro's videos about the 1, 2, 3 dip. We got the bubble forming here after the squeeze. We got 1, 2, 3, right about there. See the green candle, and this is where we get in. Right about here would be 2.3%. That kind of conservative target you would have gotten out in about 5 hours, 2.3%, not bad. I probably would have looked at this area here as a retracement potential, the support area at 709 for 4.3%. Then you've got some more resistance up here. 742, and that's 9%. Obviously, hasn't reached this level or this level yet, so you'd still be in that trade had you taken that this morning. For now, just kind of bouncing around the SMA line, this pink line here, and hanging around the bottom of the Bollinger Band. It hasn't punched through to show us a dip sequence. So it is sitting on this short-term support around 667. I think I wouldn't want to get in now. I would set a low buy order down, either a low buy order or an alert down here around 660. Try to catch it. Or we got some more sound. All right, stopped. Or maybe down here at the bottom of this Bollinger Band around 650. I put an alert down here, wait for that to drop if it does, and then hopefully catch it on a dip sequence. Another option, we got a couple green candles. Maybe this is starting to perk up and shoot up. Sometimes Rune or Thorchain will trade against Bitcoin. It's kind of like Luna in that regard. So that's something to take into consideration as well. If this starts to pump up, you can do a trend trade and then maybe try to catch it to some of these resistance levels I just showed you. So, okay.
So is that CJ looking, that's not looking too squeezy for you or the way it is now?
I wouldn't trade it now.
Right, but I mean, if the other indicators were good, let's say there were a dip, but it's this squeezy, would you still like getting in now?
You know, probably not. But I know some people here like to trade the trend, and I trade mostly dips and pullbacks. So I do something about this. Can't always remember how this works. Got too much background noise.
If somebody's typing, whoever's typing, we're picking up on that.
Yeah.
Looks like John.
Oh yeah, that poor guy. He has the worst of luck with his audio. All right. So to Robert's question, yeah, I don't usually like to buy in these squeezes. That's what he's talking about. But if I see strong candle action going up, you know, something like this trends up, you know, that can be a short. You know, maybe you get in around here, 3 or 4 candles in a row, does dip, but then you get, you know, something like this around 2.6%. That's not bad. It's not my favorite way to trade, but sometimes when you get this kind of consolidation or choppiness, you know, you can pick up a quick couple percent that way. I usually go in with a less than usual in case I have to buy again, you know, if it dips. So
Is your RSI, is that showing divergence there?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the RSI Diversions Indicator with alerts. You can download this from TradingView. And sometimes I put alerts on these, usually on longer time frames.
That's divergence against price?
Yeah, the RSI versus the price.
Okay.
Yeah, you got like a little dip, you know, a little dip here, and then a little rise here. So, you know, a little bearish divergence, but that was, you know, about 2 hours ago. I've actually been trading some scalping on only divergence and had some success with it. So we'll see if something I can share with you guys after I test it some more. But I've been working with divergence for a couple months now, trying to figure out how to scalp it.
I've never done divergence on such a small time frame.
I know, that's why it's been so difficult. Probably nobody does it and I'm wasting my time. But no, I'm the genius trader. I'm gonna figure it out. But no.
I use it
Okay.
for scalping. It has some merit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna look at the chat real quick. Okay, John asked, this is a good question. Is there a certain time of day to look for Josh Frank trades? He's talking about the long-term sentiment that we were talking about earlier. Josh suggested midnight UTC, which for me is 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Obviously, you got to convert that to where you are, but you know, that's where the testing was. And he just had to choose a spot to test, and that made sense to him. So, but I've traded, you know, at other times too using that, and it's worked out fine. So I don't think you have to be that rigid for that time of day. I just think the approach is to keep it for 24 hours and then reevaluate. I don't keep it that long. I look at support and resistance and get out, you know, where I think is reasonable based on that. So that's how I approach it.
Hey, CJ, when you're doing the divergence, are you pulling Fibonacci's off of that, or you just seeing it as a signal?
No, just seeing it as a signal, and talking about divergence is a little beyond the scope of this. Right now, we're just focused on the basic indicators and the candle action. But yeah, I mean, I have talked a little bit before about divergence and Fibonacci retracements, and I don't use them enough in my trading to talk, with any kind of authority about them. So, unlike this chart that I'm showing you now, I trade this all the time, and I feel pretty comfortable in talking about it. But I still need more work on those other two tools before talking about them on here. And I don't think that for the kind of trades we're looking for with AA and getting 2, 3, 5%, that those indicators are all that necessary. They're helpful. Obviously, the more indicators that support your decision, the better. So I'm not discouraging people from using them, but I'm just saying, I'm probably not going to talk about them too much here. All right. Hope that wasn't harsh. That wasn't my intention.
Can you
All
just explain, I mean, that sort of you're saying the AA scores, it's kind of separate from the other scores.
Mm-hmm.
So it obviously works on different metrics and different things it's looking at. But wouldn't, when they're all aligned, that give even more support than in that circumstance on Rune, you had a good AA score, but nothing else looked particularly good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be more helpful. And sometimes they do line up, but it's rare, at least in my experience. Like right now, we have very bullish on loop ring, but everything else is either neutral or less than neutral. And then we've got basic attention token, same thing, a lot of bearish, a lot of poop, but bullish because it's already been beaten down. So, what AA is telling us is based on this criteria, it's due for a comeback. That's how I view it. And
so ultimately, though, it's checking with the charts, and if the chart lines up with what the score is sort of saying.
yeah, but most of the indicators are going to be negative on a high AA score because it's trying to come back. What might be more useful to you in explaining this is to go to some of the other sorts that we do. Yeah, we already looked at one AA score. Let's look at loop ring, and then we'll do some other sorts. And then Leanne, if you still have some questions, we can explore those a little further. So loop ring.
And to your observation, when you said Bryce said he likes to see 2 or 3 of these things a little bit on fire, that's the first time I've heard him say that.
Yeah. At least I hadn't heard him really comment on Josh's strategy yet. But it seemed to be, my interpretation was it was specific to that strategy.
I see.
I know he does use Altcoin Alert to refine some of his entries, but he's way more of a swing trader and hodler than I am. So that is one way to use it. Okay, loop ring, that's where we were. We're on the day chart, and it was pretty mellow till late October, and then had big pump. So shot up here, wow, 700%. Drop down here to 161. Wow, this one's been on a wild ride lately. I've seen some news about this, but I can't quite recall. On the 1 hour, got hit on the 3rd like everything else. It's recovered all of it though. That's impressive. So loop ring has bounced back from the dump that we had on Friday, late Friday, early Saturday, and even surpassed it all the way up to almost $3. Now it's hanging around 237. In the 5-minute, mostly lower lows and lower highs today. But again, it's going into a squeeze below the SMA line not really seeing any opportunities on this at the moment.
Is there a significance to being under the SMA line?
Well, when I don't see a dip trade forming, the other thing I look for is a trend trade, like something like this, shooting up. If this goes over the SMA line with some pretty good candle action, 3 green candles, though they're not very big, I might be inclined to jump in here, goes down a little bit, then shoots up here, pick up a quick, 2.5 to 3%. But this, in my mind, this is riskier than dip trading. So, yeah, it's just hanging around here. I don't see a good entry here. So in this situation, I'm looking at short-term support around 233. There's multiple touches on that. So, yeah. Probably still want it below. So I get greedy on my entry sometimes, and that's not low enough. So I'd probably go with an alert around 231, 230, and then reevaluate when and if it hits that. All right, any questions on loop ring before we go do some altcoin alert column sorts?
Can I ask you a question that's just an odd question?
Sure, I love odd questions.
So looking at the Bollinger Bands, and you see how, I mean, it's like your channel is squeezing more. It's like it was a squeeze and now it's squeezing tighter, right? So what does that tell you when it's doing that?
It's squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and it's gonna blow. And we don't always know which direction. So that's why, squeeze trades can be a little dangerous. Where with dip trades, the percentages are in our favor. If you catch something at the bottom of the Bollinger Band after multiple punches through, this isn't a perfect example, but we got, 1, 2, we got 2, and then some pretty good candle action here. And then it's like, okay, I'm not seeing a third dip. So, and it didn't squeeze and then bubble out that much. But are the
you got a crossover, right?
Yeah,
and
crosses
the
over.
MACD.
That's where I was going with that. So I've got
RSI
RSI rising, my money flow is rising, my MACD is crossed. So even though I don't have a perfect dip trade with those confirmations, I'd be more inclined to buy into something like this and see if I can pick up a couple percent, maybe to the top of the Bollinger Band. So, it does dip, and then we get kind of lucky on this spike. So then this could have been a 3 to 4% trade in less than 2 hours. I like that as a day trader.
So if we're looking at this, and I'm just exchanging ideas. So if we're looking at this, we've got a low in the RSI and the MFI, and I can't show you on your screen, but and a low in the price that then moves across up to the top. Both sides are puncturing the Bollinger Bands. And also we've got MFI and RSI action crossing over their territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then would we be able to look at that and say, well, it's going to go all the way down to the other side, right?
That would be a reasonable conclusion. Doesn't always work that way, but when you catch, I've done multiple videos on doing alerts on the RSI and the 15-minute chart. When it drops below 30 on the 15-minute chart, that's usually happens in the second or third dip on the 5-minute chart. So, I've had some success in the past in catching dips down here with RSI alerts. I haven't tried that yet on the MFI to the same extent I have the RSI, but it would probably work something similar. And then, you're good to go on your dip trades. So, but yeah, looking at the RSI and the MFI to catch dip trades is a pretty good strategy. Does that answer your question? And you're Nathan, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that works great. Thanks.
Okay, good. All right, let's go to Altcoin Alert and look at some other sorts. We like the social activity sort as well, in addition to the long-term sentiment. And we do this to try to bring up very bullish on long-term sentiment and bullish on the Elder Impulse daily. And we usually get a few of those, but we're not today. Yeah, so is Bitcoin still dropping? That might be why. Yeah, trending down mostly. Bummer. Yeah, I'm not seeing a good example of what we like to do with the social activity sort. We essentially sort by this to find other information. You can also sort by the long-term sentiment, or I mean the Elder Impulse daily. This is more of a technical indicator where the sentiment scores have to do with the word on the street. What are people talking about on Twitter? But the Elder Impulse is a technical indicator. And to Leanne's point, when you have the technical lining up with the sentiment, that can be a good approach on Altcoin Alert. I've had some success doing that too. I'm not really seeing anything bullish lining up with anything bullish. I think this is the first time. We usually get 3 or 4. This has happened. Dadgummit. So when I am sorting by any of these columns, that's a situation where I'm looking for multiple confirmations from Altcoin Alert. Like for example, let's say if this were, if the long-term sentiment were very bullish and I had bullish on the Elder Impulse daily, neutral or better on the AA score, and then neutral or better on these scores as well, then I would look at that. Actually, let's go ahead and look at Luna, since we should look at one of these. This is a coin I like to trade anyway. Though it's had a pretty big pump lately. Okay, on the day chart, yeah, this one went nuts. Shot all the way up to over $60 from, a few months ago. It was way below, around $5 or $6. On the hour, it's been up in the high 70s as recently as the 5th. Got pretty close to that again. 76 here on a couple days ago on the 8th. That's something to take into consideration. Today, it had a pretty big drop, went sideways and dropping again. Now this is interesting. We've got a squeeze and a bubble. 1, 2, and red candles trending down. We might be going for a third dip here. So if that's the case, you might want to put an alert on around 60.5, 60.3. And I talked earlier about RSI alerts. We've got some bullish divergence. If this drops below 30, it's at 33 now. That could be another way to let you know that this dip sequence is due for a turnaround. So I think Luna is a contender and it should be ready to trade pretty soon. Now, if it doesn't do a third dip, if it starts shooting up, then we look to our other indicators, the RSI, see if it's pointing up. Does the MACD cross? Actually, the MACD is crossing now, but curling down. So getting some mixed signals from this, but I like this setup right here. So I think Luna could be one to trade very, very quickly. All right, any questions on that one?
Well, I do.
Okay.
So you're saying that that's a double dip, not a that's not a triple dip.
It looks, I don't usually count the first dip, and the first dip's kind of hanging around here, this in the squeeze
okay.
area.
You don't count the
So,
first dip.
No.
Okay.
There's some, disagreement in the dip community, in the 1, 2, 3 dip community, as to whether count that or not. Most experienced traders do not.
That's a fake out.
They can be. I think it's when you do that, you're about 50-50. When you wait for that, let's say you don't count that and you wait for a third dip, or you count it and wait for a fourth dip, however you want to categorize it, then you know, your odds are much better. I mean, it's not perfect. Sometimes you get a fifth, sixth, seventh dip if there's a, you know, if Bitcoin dumps, then pretty much all the rules are off. So
Yeah, it's not a very fat balloon either.
it is not. We'd rather see something like this, you know, that we had earlier this morning. But even that had, you know, one, it didn't really have it just went, it was just a single dip and then sideways. So we like to see them go up and down on the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So
So you count all of those red candles from earlier as just a single dip?
correct. Yeah, we don't start on the second dip count until, you know, a candle punctures the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So like here it does, and if this red candle dropped, that would be our second dip.
Does a 1, 2, 3 dip strategy apply in a 1, 2, 3 ascending?
Yes, I call that a 1, 2, 3 pump.
Okay.
But same concept.
Because I've seen that happen, and it works the same way. So
Yeah, you
I've-
can.
It applies on everything. All markets use that
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 structure.
Yeah,
It's very, very common.
you hit Alt I on your screen, you can flip it, and you know, it'll look like what you're used to seeing on the dip side. So. All right. Well, we're at about 40 minutes, so I think that's all I have for looking around on Altcoin Alert, unless there's something specific you guys want to talk about or want me to show you.
A quick question, CJ. Do you find any certain times of day the market's more active?
Yeah. I mean, related to where I live in the US, you probably have to translate it to your time area, your
Yeah.
time zone, but like, you know, 6 a.m. to around 9 a.m. Mountain time, maybe Pacific would be better. It tends to be busy. And actually I structure my day where I do my trading in two, you know, kind of two sessions. I do my early morning trading, then I break away and, you know, like work out or take a shower or whatever, and do some, you know, marketing stuff. And then I get back to my trading usually around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And then I tend to leave my alerts on, you know, assuming I don't have something social or family to do at night, up until about 9 or 10 o'clock. You know, I made a couple of trades last night, you know, around 9 or 10 o'clock, because that's, you know, morning in Asia, and most of the trading is in Asia. So,
see,
okay, 2 people
Most of
spoke
the
up.
training's in Asia.
Mhm. Yeah.
You mean most of the crypto trading when you say that, correct?
Yes, crypto trading. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
okay.
other types. But
and that was
Yeah.
6 to 12, right? Is that what you said?
I think I said 6 to 9.
In the morning?
Mhm. I don't get up
Okay.
that early though, usually.
So almost,
I have made trades from bed.
so
before.
almost coinciding with New York, is your Mountain Standard Time, right? CJ?
Right,
Right.
right. I
Yeah.
am this time of year.
And then again, it's 6 to 9 or 9 at night.
From about 3 in the afternoon to about 9 at night.
And that's
and
about
sometimes
Asian
later.
Open.
Yeah, because that's their next morning.
Correct.
That's Asian Open, yeah, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, let's see
Well,
if I still have. I used to have a site that told me these things.
You mean like a Forex,
Yeah.
I can't
Forex
remember.
market type site?
So do you understand why that is, CJ? Is it because there's a lot more restrictions in the US on trading cryptos?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
the US is behind on crypto. It pisses me off. But you know, I think the Asian countries and some European countries and, you know, are ahead. So anyway, this is a site, finder.com, crypto markets. It'll tell you, you know, the current time in the market and whether it's open or closed. So, you know, right now it's 4:45 my time, but it's, you know, in Hong Kong it's 7:45. The market's closed, but people are up. You know, you don't have to be at a all you need is a computer and the internet to trade. So when people, essentially waking hours is when people usually trade, but and then there's higher volume during their business hours. So right now the Asian countries are just getting to work.
Oh, it's Saturday.
No, Saturday
Yeah,
there.
that's true. It is Saturday.
Saturday.
So bad example. If I were on my Monday Zoom, that would have made more sense. But all right, so I might want to check this out. Okay. Any other questions about?
That's great. Thanks, CJ.
You're welcome. Any other questions about Altcoin Alert or any other coins you want to look at? All right. Well, at this time, I will stop the recording, and I usually hang around for some other crypto talk about some other opportunities. Those of you who've heard me say that before know what I'm talking about. If you're new, you can hang around or you can head out. So those of you watching on the recording, I appreciate you doing that. Happy trading. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.